to 155, a podcast about punk songs. I am punk guy Sam Sutherland.
And I'm Josiah Hughes. And this week...
Yeah.
I just thought of that right now. That's how...
I was thinking, like, it's too bad that we're not doing sort of the old school Blink-155 style intros because, we spend a lot of time promoting the Patreon and we could talk about, people getting their credit card statements and wondering what's Discharge, Like this feels
that is
really. I feel like I heard computer sounds, and I was like, "You are going to stop recording. We're going to start this again." Because I stepped on a big joke you have coming.
No,
up.
I think I talked about this on Blink-155, but that is kind of the precursor to all of this. In 2013, I tweeted, "Yeah, I like Discharge. Discharge right here." Points to expensive Blink-182 merch on credit card statement. It's not funny, and it's terrible actually to do kind of.
Oh, that's good.
But I think it is.
That was a real laugh. You can tell.
Thematically,
really
it's the Venn diagram of us. I think we are a Blink-182 podcast, and we are going to talk about the band Discharge this week, specifically the song "Always Restrictions" from the Fight Back EP. And I think we're going to probably ruin either our lives or some listeners' lives by talking about it, because I think this is the first time ever that I've genuinely been worried about being canceled because of the content, just because we're such posers. And this is really I think this is one of the last pillars of poserdom, to enter into this kingdom and say this is sick or whatever about it, and then have nothing else to offer. I think we're gonna. I already know for a fact that the existence of this episode has bummed someone out.
I mean, throughout the history of this podcast and the previous podcast, we have been somewhat surprised by our success in the crustier corners of the punk community, given maybe what we know about ourselves, and perhaps we simply exude a less posery energy than we think we do. Although I'm actually pretty sure that I come across as exactly as big of a poser as I know that I am. So maybe it's just that people that I think are quick to judgment because I feel like they're cooler than me are actually not as rude as I am. That's a lot for me to unpack, and I don't know that I'm really ready to do the work, but I am ready to do the work of bumming out the true punks in the nation. Although I've decided that my method of sort of protecting myself is not to just say this is sick and not have nothing to add, but to say that I think it's bad.
Oh, so you're going to say that you think this is bad?
This is a way of pretending that pushing Harry out of the car and claiming that I never loved him, John Lithgow style. I'm going Lithgow mode on Discharge.
Well, I gotta straight up go ahead and say that the song "Always Restrictions," which I did choose because I thought it could be fun to go down some kind of anti-vax sort of.
Right. I was wondering why you picked this one, because I'll be honest, I don't know what the Discharge hit is, but you were thinking topical, eh?
I was thinking topical. I mean, my D-Beat advisor did send me some choices, and I thought, oh, this one definitely has some topical elements. And then I was like, I bet you I could find some crusties who are anti-vax, because that seems like it'd be a thing. But then I completely forgot to look. We have lots of funny stuff to look at, but that's not in it. So, I mean, in some world, just imagine that instead of us ruining our bizarre D-Beat rap that we accidentally stumbled into once instead, it could have been an episode where we talked about punk anti-vaxxers. But we're not going to do that either. Instead, we're just going to talk about how incredibly sick this song is. And here's what I want to say right off the top. Actually, first I want to ask you about your own history with Discharge. I want to know the poser version and the real true version.
Right. So, yeah, the poser version is they're so sick. I've always loved them. I've always appreciated their influence on bands that I like and their aesthetic and their commitment to a consistent aesthetic, which I think if you can sort of find something that works and just hammer on it forever, hell yes. The real version is... Well, I mean, even
right there alone is already opposed because their aesthetic has changed so much, and what we know as pure DB Discharge I mean, I'm already gonna fact check you on that in a second, but let's hear the real.
Well, that was
first.
just me like sort of casting about for like some sort of opinion. Like if I was a talking head on some sort of like I love the '90s, D beat edition.
Yeah.
That's what I would say. That would sort of be my sound bite. I am honestly pretty sure that 10 minutes ago was the first time that I've listened to Discharge. Like, I'm sure I've heard Discharge, but have I really listened?
Wow, active listening. That's true.
Yeah, no. I remember working at a children's summer camp run by the United Church, and from time to time you would get like a kid who was like into punk. And it just meant that they were into like Blink-182 and Good Charlotte. It meant like they were into the bands that I was into.
The bands that Kravis Forever likes.
Full on, like a lot of 14, 15-year-olds that were full on Kravis Forever sort of tastemakers. And I remember like one time this kid. We were chatting, and they were talking about, I'm playing some bands. I was like, oh, that's neat, because like the oldest kids at this camp were like 16. So you're like, what are you into? Like, oh, I'm like into punk music. I was like, oh, fuck, that's cool. Me too, man. I think I probably had like the Travis Bickle mohawk at that point, which obviously was the Kravis Forever mohawk. Let's be honest. And they were like, yeah, I'm just like really into D-Beat. I'm into like bands like Discharge. And I was like, right. And I at that point had never even heard of the band Discharge. And I was probably like 19 years old. And so like a camper at a Christian summer camp introduced me to the concept of D-Beat and Discharge, and that is maybe the closest I've ever come in my life to understanding or listening to this band. It just otherwise has like never entered my sphere, because there's we've talked a lot about Tragedy, which is a band that we both like that is the closest to Discharge that I've ever got in my regular listening. And it's because Tragedy I think gets referenced a lot more by bands that I listen to, whereas like Discharge kind of is like too punk and just doesn't come up in the discourse that I am generally a part of. What about you?
I just want to start by saying it's a little bit tenuous to say that United Church Camp is a Christian camp. I mean, that's kind of a bit that was a bit of a red flag for me. Not to be just jumping on you every which way, but I mean,
I'm posing on all fronts. I'm posing as a Christian summer camp employee, posing as a punk. I have no community. I have no nowhere that I belong.
I mean, my relationship to Discharge is definitely a little bit more advanced in the sense that I have listened.
Thank fucking God.
But it is still deeply steeped in poserdom. And I think what happened was in the late 2000s, when the great indiefication of punk or punkification of indie or whatever was going on in the Fader Fort tent at South by Southwest, that was such an interesting time for me, because I've talked about this before, I think in the Mika Miko episode, but it was so exciting for me to see like all ages show energy going into the indie world, because I was so obsessed with like both of those things, and the twain had not yet met before. So I was so excited by that. And as a result, I became, as with any Canadian, I'm going to go ahead and say white man. I'm sure other people too, lots of other people, but I became obsessed with the band Fucked Up. And I was so fascinated with the fact that they were on Jade Tree, which was also the label that put out Pedro the Lion, and also bands like From Ashes Rise. And so I remember being like obsessed with Fucked Up, wanting to really like learn all the homework, wanting to know about like Killed by Death and D-Beat stuff. And I was always ordering records from the Bistro Distro, which is really funny to say out loud because it rhymes on paper but not out loud. So I was always ordering like all kinds of things from there and from Ebullition, because I really wanted to just like learn everything about punk. And around the same time, I started the band Grown Ups, which was, I think, just like more like garage punk. But in my head, I was like, a band like Fucked Up or No Age, how they were always referencing No Trend and stuff. Like you can play whatever kind of music you want, and then you can just kind of like build this world where you plug into the larger punk community. So in my brain, I had it figured out that like, even though Grown Ups was like garage punk and it kind of just sounded like Blink-182 with yelling over top of it, if I bought enough punk records, I would be able to like get us to eventually play Chaos and Teos and like become like a real punk band. And it just obviously was like an impossible, like,
I liked it. Punk is just like a full-on MLM scheme.
It
you're like,
was.
if I just keep buying these records, eventually they'll let me into the cool.
Yeah.
Like I'll become the tier 2 operator.
I want like it was that, and I think it was also this project now was kind of the same kind of thing where it's like it can just be everything at once, but it didn't really work with my music that I was making because it sounded very specifically like one thing, which not very many people liked. But anyways, so because of that, then I was like always like, I don't know, going to see, there was this band in Calgary called Point Break who were really sick. And even though their name makes them seem like they're like a youth crew band, they were doing D-beat stuff. And I was like doing my homework at the time and listening to the Verukers, listening to Discharge. And I remember like going up to the drummer of Point Break. I think it was the drummer. One of the guys that I didn't really ever become no, not the drummer. I forget which he was, but I became homies with all of them except for this one guy. And I think it's because one time at Tubby Dog, I went up to them after a set and I saw he had a Verukers patch and I was like, "Oh, the Verukers are awesome." And he just like looked at me as like such a corny, like not cool. Anyways, I've always felt like I'm too lame for this very cool D-beat world. And I also,
this is so sad. Is this the same, like, is this around the same time where, Damien from Fucked Up called you a Punisher too?
well, he calls me a Punisher every time he talks about me to anyone. I've learned every 2 weeks someone emails me and says, "Oh, I met Damien. He's for some reason brought you up and mentioned you're a Punisher." But that is part of it. It is all tied to some kind of like internal insecurity that I had and probably still have. But like I feel like this is all part of like my embarrassing 20s, like trying to figure myself out. Trying to see if I can turn myself into being like a cool punk record guy who like has all the ugly pop releases or whatever. And it obviously didn't work out, and I'm thankful that it didn't. However, all of this is to say, I remember listening to Discharge, Hear Nothing, See Nothing, Say Nothing over and over again, and it just like never really clicked, and it never really made sense. But then this week, listening to this song, it like really does. I feel like this song makes me understand the full power of Discharge and what people love about it, because it has that like intense sonic propulsion that makes you just want to like, I don't know, be a disgusting beer swilling studded man with a rat tail or whatever. Like it just like I fully buy into the crust lifestyle when I hear this song. It all makes sense, and I don't just want to be into punk in an indie way. I want to become like a disgusting dreadlock man who lives under a bridge when I hear this.
What about Speed? How do you feel about doing Speed?
I mean, that's the thing. When I listen to Always Restrictions, I think maybe I should loosen some of these restrictions I've put on myself. Just become more of a
You could be like, I mean, I don't know, like, what is it, like, California sober, where, you don't drink, but you still smoke weed.
Montreal sober.
Yeah, crust sober, where you like you don't drink, or you actually do drink, and you just do speed, but that's it. Only alcohol and
siphoning gas. Maybe I drink siphoned gas.
Yeah, exactly.
No, but honestly, like, so I think because I was like trying to engage with music in this like weird, as you said, MLM scheme kind of way, and it just didn't work at all. It was all a disaster. But today, listening to this song, this week listening to this song and this EP, I really do fully understand the power of Discharge, and I feel like it makes perfect sense. And like, I still don't really think I understand when I watch the videos. I don't know if I'll play them. I have a few, but when I watch the videos about what is and what isn't a D-beat, I don't think I can always hear the difference. And I feel like people are fighting over very specific kick drum placement and whether or not you're using the ride cymbal. I don't know about any of that, but needless to say, this song is sick as all hell, and I really do understand the power of it. And I think we should watch this video of them playing it live in 81.
Okay.
Actually, it's just audio, but it's sick.
Okay, let's listen to it.
Now we have to experience
what... can participate also.
Exactly.
Very good turnout. This one's called Realities of War.
Oh, I have to go to the... Fuck. This is Realities of War. There is a time code in here somewhere.
It's funny that while you look for the time code, it's funny that Fucked Up was sort of what led you to Discharge? Because I feel like Fucked Up led me to the Wipers, and I never went anywhere further.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think necessarily. I can't remember if maybe Jonah was into. I think also it's because through Fucked Up, I started buying every Deranged Records release, and they're kind of like They were kind of like the tastemaker du jour of the 2010s, and then they started releasing some cool deviant influence things like Unlearn, who are also so sick from Calgary/Vancouver. I love that Unlearn record still, but that kind of taught me like a little bit more about it and the genre clues. And like the funny thing is, I also always think of Tragedy as being a D-beat band, but they rarely use the actual D-beat in their songs. So, and that's the other thing is like we're gonna listen to probably like 20 like hilarious Twee covers later, and I feel like that's what's gonna make all these like cave dwelling D-beat people so angry to hear.
I'm so stoked. So, yes. I love it. Jonah, I'm sure we're talking. I feel like Jonah only listens to like. You know, you were really excited to get Discharge into Homework Month, and I feel like this is truly the spirit of this month. Like more obvious, like not that the other ones we did weren't, but like this is the like, oh fuck, I do really. For me personally, like I gotta fucking listen to Discharge finally. But I feel like Jonah only listens to the 5th week of Homework Month on 155 pod type bands.
Yeah, or I feel like now he seems to listen to like, I don't know, Italian guitar harmony, power pop, rock music too, which like. That's the thing. Once you're on the homework path, you're going to end up in some weird places that are going to.
People just like feel more comfortable in academia. That's all.
It's true. Just a lifetime in academia. Anyway, so this is live in London in 1981. Let's go.
Always restrictions.
Always restrictions.
So that's funny.
I mean, I know we don't play the song in the episode, but if you haven't listened to the real song yet, it does inform. It's like, it's interesting. Having heard that song and all the rest of the band makes sense to me, at least of the raw punk D-beat stuff, where like once you kind of hear the chord progression and the bass line and the drums, then it doesn't matter how shitty the recording is, you're still going to connect with the song. It's going to be sick as hell. So, respect.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think that's also like, again, because I'm such a fucking poser. I'm like, I'll listen to Dysphere. Like, I'll listen to, the really like modern compressed stuff because I am basic like that. But it's true. Like, once you kind of like can connect with it and sort of cut through. I mean, it's obviously objectively fucking sick.
Yeah, like that's the thing is you almost have to train your ear for it. But in terms of me liking like really noisy, pretentious music, I'm already kind of there. I was already ready for this all along. I just didn't really connect in the right way. But speaking of so I want to talk about what you said about how they figured out something to do and always did it, because it's pretty funny to actually hear the evolution of Discharge. First, I want to point out that earlier this year, I don't remember how I found this, but Discharge actually played on the same bill as U2. Opening for Slade.
Yes.
So this is like a review that I found of it.
Oh my God.
I forgot to check what year it actually was, but
Here, you read it. I'll try to.
This is actually 1980 at the Lyceum in London as well. So it's the same venue that the last live recording was at, but 1 year earlier. This is in London in 1980, and the reviewer Gary Bushell says. I'm not going to read it in a British accent, even though I'm so tempted to. He said,
I think you should.
Discharge oozes on first with all the grace and appeal of a syphilitic sore. Crassland refugees from grim old Stoke and frontline heroes of the even grimmer underground punk mentality. Just Discharge separated a series of painful bursts of indistinguishable noise, totally bereft of such essentials as tunes and sing-along choruses. If it weren't for the fact that they threw in a few mumbles between songs, I'd have been convinced that they were playing one long-winded 40-minute concept number, doubtless dedicated to the destruction of 4 years of musical progress. Natch, the smattering of Crass fans present, loved every pustulant minute, and the band encored on the strength of 2 farts and a cough down the front. U2 came as a brief relief, sounding initially so much more positive than all that puerile pretend punk. But the magic soon wore thin as the cracks beneath the band's polished edifice became more and more apparent. I mean, it's interesting that you hate
review,
Discharge
honestly.
and U2. I mean, I think that's probably a sign of that both bands are equally good, Gary.
I think that's it. If you're generating that kind of response, congrats to both parties.
Not to mention also like amazing writing though. Like looking at this, you're just like, damn, music writing was worth reading before. Like each sentence of this is carefully crafted to be extra
Do you not
hurtful.
think the music writing is? Do you not think the music writing is still worth reading?
Come on. I mean, we do have a newsletter every week, which, it's pretty mean, and we're mean to each other in it. That's kind of the best part of it.
I think that's where most of the sort of negative energy goes.
Yeah, it's true. Now that we just sit here and go, oh, sick all the time.
So sick, so fast, and dirty.
But anyways, this Discharge song.
Discharge, yeah.
Sounds exactly... I think there is a Discharge cover band called Discharge, actually. I'm pretty sure that... Basically, my friend Chris, who did the episode art this week, who has guested many times before, if you just accidentally say the word Discharge, he'll talk about them for like 6 months straight. And I'm not complaining. I fucking love it. It's like amazing that this specific era of a band could inspire like so many people to build an entire life around it. That's always like such a sick thing when that happens with music, or like even the fact that the D beat is called the D beat because of Discharge. Like how many other artists were that level of influential, not in like a boring school way, but like literally people named a drum beat after you or name, you know what I mean? It's kind of like next level homework style.
Well, yeah, it's like, I mean, name the drum beat after it, name their bands, like, similarly. It is like, I think you're right. I mean, kind of without precedent. It is once again pretty fucking sick.
There's got to be like probably some, I can't think of examples, but I'm sure it seems like maybe more in dance music or hip hop there would be somebody, like a certain break would be named after someone.
Like this. It's like the Amen break. There are like these. You're right, but it sort of exclusively exists. But I feel like more around sampled things, right?
Yeah, like in rock music, I can't even think of almost anything really. I mean, there's things like, speaking of U2, there's a U2 guitar sound that everyone knows, but no one says, they say I'm using a delay pedal. They don't say I'm edging or whatever. Maybe they should.
Right. And there is like, okay, the only thing I can think of is the Amen break. There's obviously other breaks that are sort of famous. And then in terms of beats, the only thing that comes to mind is the Purdy shuffle. But it's not like no one's like, oh man, we're like a P beat band.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's more for drummers. Like, I don't think there are people who, like, listen to, I mean, or, like, I guess Steely Dan fans or whatever. But are there,
which is
like,
everyone.
normal
Which is fucking everyone
people?
these days.
Honestly, I don't mind it. Steely Dan memes are funny to me, even though I don't know shit about Steely Dan.
Yeah, I mean, we're not going to talk about this for more than me saying this sentence, but speaking of things that are funny memes for certain normie types of people, I saw that Eve 6 and Riot Fest are beefing today. That's a real, that makes me want to go down the homework path even more. But that's the thing. It's like people named it D-Beat not because of like some annoying academic thing, but because it's sick as all hell. Like that's what's cool about it is like it's not like they're not being like, oh, this band is so influential, we must pay our respects. They're like, no, it's called the D-Beat because Discharge fucking rules and the D-Beat rules.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's so cool. But anyway, so prior to the D-Beat,
if there was like a J beat, if there was like a Josiah beat that was going to become,
oh wow, yeah,
famous. What would your beat be? Your influential beat?
I mean, I'm not a drummer. I have no idea. I don't know. What, like, do you have a specific drum beat in mind that? Are you asking me if I've invented a drum beat that no one knows about yet? Do
you have a secret drum? Is this? Are you sort of leading up to revealing the J beat on the?
Let me just
pod?
like swerve this idea a little bit and ask you this: what if there was a Danny Boyle movie about a man who wakes up in a world where the D beat has never been invented.
Oh shit!
I mean, he already did this movie about D Beatles, but
Oh, that was great. That was you're doing really well today, man.
my life has really worked out for the best, I think, is what we're getting at.
I think so. There's definitely a humorous 2-minute short in the idea you've just described.
Well, prior to D Beatles, aka Discharge, they are D Beatles of D Beat, I think. They actually sounded like the Beatles of punk, of Homework Month, aka the Sex Pistols. This is from Discharge's 1977 demo. It's called I Love Dead Babies. I can't believe how funny this is, actually. It's so slow, also.
Yeah. Wow. I love the logo and stuff.
Yeah.
Still intact? Or I guess no, this is probably released. I just realized this is a collection of early.
No, I think the demo did have it, though.
Okay. Wow.
Also,
so what happened? Did someone hurt them? Was there
the song being I Love Dead Babies? I'm like, is this from Documentary Now? It seems like some sort of
Or it feels like a Mighty Wind joke or something.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly. Well, the thing, I mean, what really happened is also it's worth looking at the Discharge members chart because there's so many people who've been in the band over the decades, and they all have funny names like Fuzzy and Fozzy and Fizz, although that's none of the real names. But there's Cal, Rainey, Tez, Bones. I mean, the gang's all here. Acco. So, anyways, I think just
Acco. Yes.
some members switch. I mean, there's so many books about Discharge. If you want to learn about it, you could figure out why that happened. But then Kez and the boys quit, and only Cal was left after Hear Nothing, Say Nothing came out. They had some other singles, I think, but their next LP after that was called Grave New World. So we've heard the demo. We know the classic Discharge. Then this is what came after. This is called Grave New World. And this is going to be your favorite, I think.
Oh yeah. those harmonics in there. Oh.
So that's kind of the dark years, the Grave New World
So
LP.
when Discharge plays live, do they play? Because when we did our Propaganda episode, I've often found Propaganda's ability to sort of thread the needle, play the sort of pop thrash contemporary stuff and the pop punk old stuff sometimes seems like it couldn't work, but it sort of doesn't
like Tool. Yeah.
Yeah, because it all gets run through the Maynard filter. Does Discharge play the fucking Sunset Strip metal material?
I think they did a few LPs of that, and I think everybody hates it. And then all the boys like Buzz and Biz and Fez and Randy. I'm just trying to make up fun just Discharge names. One of the drummer's nickname is Proper Caution, which is so cool. Apparently,
British culture is so sick.
Cal is kind of considered to be like the Discharge vocalist, and he hasn't been in it for a long time, and no one knows where he is. And I was told to try to get him as a guest on this week's episode, but instead I just went through a whole bunch of YouTube videos, and there was a lot of vaginal Discharge ones, and we're not going to watch any of them. That's how much I've grown as a person.
Think that's actually, if anything, I think that's.
I said opposite of
you're
grown.
being a bad ally.
I've shrunk
yeah.
as a person.
Yeah, you've shrunk.
But anyways, Cal is not in right now. Jeff J.J. Janiak is the vocalist since 2014. But Cal is responsible for the sickest Discharge and also for the Grave New World era. Like, what an interesting man who contains multitudes. But they've all kind of, I feel like they've kind of disowned that material and tried to go back to a punk way of being, for better or worse. I mean, to be honest with you,
modern way of being.
modern Discharge live videos they have that depressing ageism underneath them all. You know, it's like I don't recommend it. There are really sick old Discharge videos you could watch instead, including, and this is kind of loops back around. In fact, I was going to say Grave New World to me does seem like it's kind of like the No Warning, Suffer, Survive kind of thing. Like everyone hated it, but people have come back around to love Grave New World and appreciate it for what it is. So, you know, some things are just...
Did anyone ever decide eventually that the things that were bad were bad? Like, has there ever been, like, you know, but it developed, a following of fucking idiots who just know that it's shit but like it anyway. Like, does everything have to get critically reevaluated or become a cult classic?
No, Eve 6 still sucks.
There you go. Okay, that's something you got to hold true
Here's
to that.
Discharge live in the perfect era, live on Toronto TV.
These fans are the kind who don't give a hell for commercial pop charts or even television programs like this one. They came.
What is Toronto TV?
I gotta see what it is. Let's see.
Street cable.
It just says Toronto interview and live Toronto TV 1983. Yeah, I wonder. Oh, it's so sick though.
It's supposed to have been City TV or whatever, right?
Just to think 1 year after this, probably a good 40 minutes from where this is, your parents had sex and created you.
That's true. That's exactly what I was thinking.
About that part of the country.
Maybe they were at this show.
Rough bars and rough fans. And
My parents are crusty.
Everything. Is that really the way it is?
I mean, all parents eventually become.
You go to places where you're going to get trouble. You're going to get trouble, right? But like,
Look, there's a guy named Pooch.
It might sound violent and all that, but the people you find that the people.
Anyways, this is kind of hard to hear, but it looks really
That is
cool.
so sick. You know what? It's funny that you mentioned the current live videos being ageist. There is someone that I know who's played like festivals, I guess, with currently ageist Discharge, and described sort of hanging out with them backstage as incredibly dark and depressing. So the idea that the sort of actual presentation on stage would sort of hold true to the
Right. I mean, it's funny that
grimness of the backstage experience. It's good. It's good. Consistency, right?
I like that I can say that it's ageist, and you know what I mean, because I don't think they're being ageist on purpose, but they are instilling an ageism in all of us that is ultimately their fault, I think. But good on them
Totally.
for still
They're
going.
making us ageist. Yeah.
Good on Dizzy and the gang for keeping it going. But, you know, the power of Discharge, the classic era, it doesn't matter if they suck live because their music sounds so good live no matter what. And so I have a video here. This is the band Drip, the defunct Montreal DB band Drip. They're playing a Varning Fest after show in 2017 at Loud House. This is at 4 a.m. This is the D Beatsman of the pod, Chris, playing drums, covering Always Restrictions at Varning in 2017. So, I mean, and this is fucking sick. It's a really good bass line.
Yeah.
I mean, that fucking still goes. It doesn't sound ageist at all. It sounds sick as hell.
Like seeing vital, young people singing it helps,
Yeah. Unfortunately, as with everything, though, there are like some really horrible explainer type people. Like I've noticed that I didn't realize that there was all this stuff I didn't realize how much of this stuff was on YouTube still. I thought it was on TikTok or the Punk Rock NBA, but I found a new guy named The Punk Historian.
The UK has always been an important location throughout punk history. Not only was it the birthplace of some of the genre's earliest big names, such as The Clash, the Sex Pistols, and the Buzzcocks,
Sounds like a 12-year-old
but it also birthed
boy,
a number
but
of different punk
it's
subgenres
not.
that still retain strong followings in the scene to this day. Like all musical subgenres, each of these offshoots had one or two bands that pioneered the blueprint for both the sound and the scene. And specifically in the context of crust punk and D-beat, I can think of two bands that really set the stage, one of which was responsible for defining the sound as we know it today. How's it going, folks? My name is Jack Miller.
Whoa, that's the
Unqualified
12-year-old?
historian, and if you're a fan of crust punk, D-beat, crossover thrash, or really just hardcore punk in general, then I'm sure
No disrespect, but I think it's because of his facial hair. He looks exactly like a webcomic come to life.
you're familiar with the everlasting impact of the one and only Discharge. As usual, I'll be giving a historical overview of their career as well as some of my personal
I mean, this kind of shit is so boring. I don't think that I don't think that the raw, unbridled energy that's in the song and in that live video or the real live recording we listened to, I don't think it's meant to be understood in this way. You know what I mean?
I'm going to watch this video and I'm going to learn a lot.
The next time we have to do a crust song, you'll
Yeah,
have a
I'm
lot
gonna
to
be like,
say.
In my opinion, Josiah, there's two bands that are really responsible, and I'm gonna have.
I can think of two bands, Crass and Discharge. Damn, he thought
I
of
was just
that?
like doing the.
You thought of that yourself?
He's doing the flipped up hat thing
Yeah.
with like the wrong kind of hat, and sort of like fucking up his forehead. I don't care for this man's
It's
vibe.
so cool. It's so cool. I mean, that's kind of like us too, I think, is like you just become, if you're not the guy who's like the king of the scene when you're in a band, then you eventually just become some kind of esoteric, cringy content creator talking about things. But at least ours is vibe based, and that's
Exactly,
kind of the difference.
that's the point. Is we are totally protected by our vibe based lifestyle.
So there's this other guy called D-Beat Dad on YouTube, and he looks a lot like Marsden when Marsden becomes a dad, I think. He's called D-Beat Dad, and he also kind of not matching the vibe of the raw power of Discharge. He uses like electronic drum pads to play his D-Beat. So here's the D-Beat Dad with his explainer of what is D-Beat. We're not going to watch it all because it's almost 8 minutes long, but...
So what is D-beat? D-beat is a style of drums that is used by
I still really like
a
him.
lot of punk bands.
He's so chill.
Nowadays, it's become its own.
Yeah, it's not what I was expecting. You know, if you're going to market yourself as a dad, I just sort of expect a slightly different vibe.
It's because of his mustache,
great band
maybe.
called Discharge.
I think that's got to
Hence
be
the
it.
D and D-beat.
Got to fix your autofocus,
And,
bro.
Basically, a lot of drummers adapted to that style.
Got that like
And,
incredibly
made
dark,
what a lot
looks
of,
spray painted on
bands
kind of
have been
hair.
Influenced by since then, and I've created a lot of amazing bands. Kind of where
Is he going to play a D beat on the V drums though?
That's what I'm saying, yeah. And he also...
Discharge, D for D beat is kind of where it came from. But I wanted to kind of get started and kind of show you why it's a little bit argued as to where it started. So the first band technically that made the first D beat sound, let's just say, could arguably be the Buzzcocks. So they have a song called You Tear Me Up, which I'm going to go ahead and play right now.
Thanks, DB Dad.
Thank you, DB Dad.
So you hear that, right? You hear the D beat, pretty traditional beat.
Fucking V
Again,
drums.
this song was back, I think, in the late 70s, and why it's argued that Buzzcocks will also had an influence in that style. But there's a lot of different types of, nowadays, a lot of different types of D-beat. You know, I'm not a drum expert, I'm not a drum teacher.
What are you? I'm just a simple D-beat dad.
Basically,
Yeah,
there
that's
are
it.
different
My
bands
only
that have used that
my only
influence
qualifications
to
is
make it
being
their
a
own.
father.
So I'm going to kind of go over 3 different categories that I feel I usually break it down by. So the first one is, you know, traditional D-beat, which, let's just start with Discharge, right? So if we listen to one of the first recordings of Discharge, the first albums in an EP, so the song Why.
I mean, those drums sound so cool compared to
So
his.
again, you can see the
So he doesn't play along with them. He just sort of plays it and then plays his V
Well,
drums.
pace or slower pace D-beat. So let's check that out again.
I think he'll play it after, maybe.
So again, that's more like.
Yeah, he plays it after. I mean, the thing is, I don't want to get into the big D-Beat debate about D-Beatles of D-Beat Discharge, but I will say D-Beat Dad does have a video where he claims that classic Discharge song does not have a traditional D-Beat, and to prove it, he plays a traditional D-Beat over top of the song. But I feel like that's like way too spicy for us. We shouldn't be putting that out there. That's terrifying.
Well, I mean, do you want to wade into that type of controversy?
I can't. I don't think I can handle it, really.
You want to have to deactivate our Twitter account next week when this comes out? Like, I don't know.
I will say this, though. I also think even just having heard I Love Dead Babies, and then when he was listening to the song Why, and the lyrics were just why? I gotta say, like, I do love the way that Discharge lyrics are. I'm sorry to the people who've dedicated their lives to it. They seem pretty dumb as hell in a great way.
Why? Why would you say that? Why?
I love dead babies. Always Restrictions lyrics are kind of apparently they're transcribed wrong. So the covers we listened to this week are going to have, some people went with the genius, some people went with song meanings. According to Chris, the D-Beat expert, it's from so the song meanings ones are correct. So I think the lyrics of this song are twisting words for their own gain, led up another garden path, kept in darkness and fed on crap. It's a messed up, fucked up fucking system. They're always there with their restrictions, always there to put you down. Anarchy's the only solution now. It's a messed up, fucked up fucking system. But according to Genius, instead of it's a messed up, fucked up fucking system, they say smash to fuck the fucking system. I mean, either way, it sounds fake, how hilariously punk it is, and I love it so much for that reason. I mean, it's beautiful.
Those are good. I feel like those kind of like those are sort of more evolved version of free punk lyrics, but they feel like they're part of a wider Josiah universe.
I know, like free punk lyrics, I'm realizing now was not really as much of a joke as I thought it was. Like it was just like punk. It was just like a thing. I was just like participating in punk culture.
Well, nothing is funny about punk.
That's true.
That was your mistake.
So I think I played this once before, when in an old life when we accidentally got into another D-Beat debate. But this is Brian Rowe from the Verukers. This is one of my favorite videos regarding this topic, because this is a D-Beat explainer that just like no frills, no bullshit. Here's Brian Rowe from the Verukers.
Hey, I'm Brian. Just want to show you what D-Beat drumming is and what it isn't. D-Beat is a punk drumming style we did in the
really
early
loud
80s,
zoom.
Discharge
Just
and bands like that.
unnecessary zooming
I'm one of
in.
the creators. If you look at Wikipedia, you'll see it on there. The other guy, Gary, my mate.
This is the band that you complimented the guy on in the
I was the drummer of the Brukers.
Well, I wish you could see you now, showing your boss vibes.
It's kind of got a bit distorted.
Exactly.
People saying it's, you know,
Man, the
double bass
Brukers are so
drums
sick,
and
too.
hi-hats and stuff like that. It's not. It's pure simple cymbal. It's pure and simple, sorry. Cymbal,
He's so
bass drum,
cute.
snare drum. It's not, you know, it's not with the cymbal. It's hi-hat. It just don't sound right. It's with the cymbal like
This
this.
really has British mockumentary energy.
You just got to play these three drums.
That's it. That's deep.
That's it.
Pure and simple. Not two bass drums, not double bass drum pedals, nothing like that.
And then it cuts to
No hi-hat,
a
just
talking
straightforward
head
cymbal,
of the guy from Discharge. He's
snare,
like,
bass drum.
he's
Thanks
got it
for
all
watching.
wrong.
I'll be back.
It's all hi-hat.
Yeah, I love that
What an
video.
incredibly beautiful and simple drum tutorial. It's just nice.
It's 1 minute long, and half the time
Bye.
he's mixing up the words simple and symbol over and over again.
Yeah.
So cute.
Like a huge chunk of the video is just sort of like cute malapropisms.
So real quick, I guess I should have played this earlier when I played the Toronto TV thing. There is another Discharge related, I think Toronto or at least Canadian TV thing. Somebody has, and this really shows the terrifying depths that Discharge fans go to really demonstrate their fandom. Someone's taken an episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark that's about like haunted music and changed all the songs to be Discharge songs.
Oh, shit.
So this is called Are You Afraid of the D-Beat?
Oh, my God.
Full TV episode.
This is so fucking good.
Where were you? It's okay,
It was
Frank. We're
uploaded by
waiting for
Future Reducer.
We were supposed to come together.
I guess it's the tale of the dark.
How many views does this have? Like,
520.
Thanks a lot.
Be careful, that man's my
it
father.
was worth it, future
I'm gonna
reader.
make you eat this.
What's the big deal? Well, you see,
All
Their
right.
channel also has like
Just forget it.
poor Frankie
some old
lost
McDonald's
his flashlight.
commercials from TV.
Let it go, Eric.
And what?
Some
Great show
uploads of
it
obscure punk.
was.
D-beat drum.
What? no, Mr.
I think that was Brian
Wait,
Rowe.
yeah, hold on. Okay, we got to go back. What was
Frankie
that?
lost his flashlight.
Let it go, Eric.
And what? And he's afraid of the...
D-beat drum.
What? no, Mr. Tough Stuff.
It's okay. I get scared
DB.
sometimes too.
I'm not afraid of the...
D-beat.
I just wasn't sure I could find the clearing without a flashlight. You're gonna pay for this, man.
Well, don't kill him yet.
This is 25 minutes
Yeah,
long.
it's a good
so
one. There's a little boy in it who's afraid of the...
D-beat drum.
Oh, you're dead meat.
Sit down, Frank. Don't be strange.
No, I'll stand.
Just tell the story.
there are 9
Everyone
Discharge
knows
songs.
that there's
in this.
nothing in the
DB.
that can hurt you.
I really respect the consistency. This must have taken some time.
So before we get to the covers from our own crew, there's a few that I found. I think I'm only going to play one, but the band from Seattle, The Farts with a Z, who I think are like a serious band. Again, they seem
Yeah,
fictional.
the farts rock. Duff McKagan was in the farts.
They seem like more like a mighty wind joke to me. I didn't mean to do that. But that was also
that's
good.
funny. No, but the fact that it is like the full Anarchy A and the Z, like it feels like something
It's
real. Like
so
this can't possibly be real.
Okay, we'll play that one too. And then there is an 8-bit cover that is whatever, but it's like very old. But I have a very special cover I want to play instead. But first here's the Farts covering it in '81 in Seattle. So I don't know if Duff McKagan was in it at this point. That sounds so sick.
Yeah, that's good. The farts are cool.
I wonder if somehow Duff McKagan influenced the Grave New World Discharge into existence. Because it does kind of have that. Maybe that's the key that made it all happen. It already knowing that, it all makes sense more to me as a lifelong Discharge poser.
Well, there is an article from GNRCentral.com, How Discharge United Metal and Punk Fans. So
yeah, I mean, there you go. There you go. But
there you go. Makes sense.
But ultimately, we're talking about like weird basement lurker music, and sure, D-Beat was, very hip. It comes in and out of vogue every few years. I think it's kind of a little bit subsiding for the comeback of power violence or whatever is happening next. But oh my God, I keep accidentally doing the greatest wordplay. What happens next? Anyways, I think still, no matter what, we're talking about music that's for basement lurkers and for weirdos and cretins. And so that's why I'm very excited to introduce you to Billy Burks, who's covering Discharge Always Restrictions in what I can only assume is a basement, playing his guitar at a very low volume with a Steelers banner hung sideways on his wall. I mean, this is just kind of the perfect.
Yes. So low.
This is just some American movie shit right here.
Just the idea of playing a guitar in your lap, but not putting it on your thigh, instead putting it between your thighs.
I also, is he left-handed?
I've never seen anyone play guitar sitting down like that.
It almost looks like he's playing it upside down or something.
Yeah, maybe.
But also on his channel, I mean, Billy Burks rules. He's covered Thin Lizzy, Slayer, AC/DC, Cheap Trick, the National Anthem, Foo Fighters, Venom. He's just whipping out the guitar solo.
That is a great guitar solo. Wow, Billy Burks rocks, and it's always that same. It's just the light temperature changes.
Yeah, it looks like based on his shirts, he'll just bash out a couple in an afternoon. But yeah, this is so sick. I love Billy Burks.
Isn't Billy Burke one of the guys on Queer Eye?
No, that's Bobby.
I think this is the same guy. I think this is the guy who does the renovations.
I went to Drawn and Quarterly today, and they have a cardboard cutout of Anthony because they were selling his cookbook there.
Really?
Kristen knows what's up. Her and Sarah actually went to the signing because it was super cheap. But that was a few years ago. But anyways, the cardboard cutout, I kept thinking that Anthony was actually in there. It was really tripping me out. Shout out to Billy Burke for that sick cover of Discharge Always Restrictions. I don't know, before we get into our covers, do you have anything else you want to say about this tune?
This tune rocks.
This is now the time for this Patreon.
It's still good. It's still really
speech. Good. This covers come from our gatekeep. If you want to cover the song, go to patreon.com/155pod and you'll know what song we're doing. And there's a whole community of absolute psychos who will help you, who will take over your whole life. And every single day of the week, they'll be talking to you about something. And it's really not even about us anymore at all. So
yeah, plus if like that doesn't sound appealing to you, there's more episodes which also might not sound appealing to you. The newsletter, which we got to find a way to promote more because it's like you and I doing, real serious music journalism, and it is like actually really good. I think we both sort of had to admit that it kind of rocks and it's fun to write. So there's stuff also for like people who don't want to
less
spend
less psycho people.
Yeah. So there's.
It's funny. This used to be a Blink
for all.
This used to be a Blink-182 podcast that was secretly about us, and now it's a podcast that's about us that secretly has nothing to do with us. It's kind of the interesting evolution of it.
Damn.
But anyway, so before we get into these covers, of course, we need to pay tribute to all of the crusties out there and apologize ahead of time for listening to Discharge covers that are not done in the style of Discharge. Sparkling Caleb, right off the bat, he was saying to me that he thought that like to pay tribute to Discharge, what you should do is at least make sure you have similar vocals to them. So his idea was to do like a clean guitar cover of Discharge, but with those vocals, which I think is a really cool idea, but he wasn't able to pull it off. So instead, he devised a score in which every time I'm switching pronouns here.
Yeah, it's confusing. Really confusing.
Caleb says
People's Party of Canada, sort of like candidate bio at this point.
Caleb said, I instead devised a score in which every time I encountered a restriction, I would recite the phrase always restrictions. I performed the score for 2 minutes and 45 seconds. I then converted the recording into a MIDI file, reversed that, and paired it with the original recording. Results are included. So I don't really know what that means. Is a restriction a musical term, perhaps? I'm not sure. Either way, I'm thankful that it's always pretentious over here on the pod. So let's start off with this high concept shit from our boy Caleb. Let's go.
I Googled restriction and didn't find anything.
Because the website was restricted.
I think that was probably my problem.
Still got your parental filter on.
I just don't like to see any cuss words or perv
We should probably
stuff.
stop talking over this extremely quiet.
Always restrictions. Always restrictions. Always restrictions.
That is so cool. I definitely want to understand it more.
I don't get it, but I appreciated it.
I would love like a overpriced literary journal entry in a hardbound book that I will never open but will buy about that, please. So if someone wants to put that in their literary journal, let me know. I'll cough up the cash for it and not listen to it. Up next is Dis Todd. Hopefully that's Todd Killings. I don't know. Dis Todd Always Restrictions. Now, the file name gives away something. It says Discharge featuring Travis Barker type beat. So I'm wondering.
Oh, okay.
Okay, here we go. I think the spirit of Discharge is in there very strong still.
Yeah, that was fucking sick though. And the Travis Barker type beat, like there, but it took me a second to like remember that was what I was going to be listening for.
It wasn't over the top. That was so cool. That was amazing. Okay. Here's Earn S Them, Always Restrictions, Basement Conscious Mix. Recorded solo in the basement, like it's Gobuary all over again, but with soft Deh vibes. So shout out Deh as well. Here's I guess we're starting like close to the end. So we're starting at 50-second mark. Here we go. So sick.
Fucking right. Oh my God. These are going to be good, aren't they?
Yeah, this is going to be sick comp on Monday. It's hard not to
That's
sound
right.
like Oprah sometimes when talking about these things.
On Monday. She's just as excited as we are. Yeah, exactly.
This is QT.
Oprah likes Discharge.
I wonder. I think now when we recently, this is another plug for the Patreon, patreon.com/155pod. There's a friend of ours named Crystal. She runs the account Kravis Forever, which is the Travis Barker and Kourtney Kardashian couple name. And she like really keeps abreast of, well, the breasts and butts and all of the various pieces of body items that are being grabbed in public all the time with this new celeb super couple. But they're always like fondling each other in public while wearing punk merch. So we had her on to listen to punk merch music with us, and she was hearing, things like Subhumans UK for the first time, and it was so fun.
DRI. It was honestly quite. It's a really fun episode.
It really is like one of the best. But one of the things I didn't play on there was that Kim Kardashian, like way long ago, was photographed on the red carpet wearing a DB jacket. And I think it was like 2015, 2016. Everyone freaked the fuck out about it. But I can't remember if it was Discharge or Disclose on the bottom. And I also can't remember what point I'm making. But I think Kim Kardashian was one of the first celebs to don a DB jacket in public. So respect.
DB Dawn, that's what they call her.
So anyways, here's QT Discharge with Always Restrictions. Whoa. I love not knowing who that is. Also,
that was fucking awesome.
That was so cool. It had, to me, like it had some 31G or GSL energy, like some real like weird, I don't know, bastard noise or something. Kind of like, I guess like spaz white belt era hardcore when all those people were making electronic music. It's kind of a unre-explored subgenre, but it had that kind of vibe rather than, I don't know, it's just hard to place. It was very out there and sick.
Yeah, totally. That was fucking awesome.
Normalcy, I'm next with Always Moths. Now, she's called it that because she writes, as it gets colder, these little moths keep finding their way into my apartment. So I named the cover Always Moths because there's always moths. The name holds no significance to the sound of the song.
That's good.
That's so cool. Okay, here we go.
Oh.
This is so cool.
This is incredible.
Oh, I love that guitar sound.
This is lovely. I just want to listen to this.
Me too. I want
to do an episode about that song.
Maybe for every D-beatster who's having their life ruined, there's one who's getting really into kind of jangly power pop, and so maybe we're not so different after all. You and I.
That's right. This is the Jonah Falco pipeline, though, that we're kind of describing here.
It's true. That was so sick. I loved it, and I hope that you get your moth problem sorted out.
Yeah.
Next is Disambiguation, which is a great band name for Homework Month. Have we talked about this before? Is disambiguation a word that like Wikipedia invented, or?
No, I think it's a word that like professors invented, though.
If you click if you look up the word disambiguation on Wikipedia, I think your computer will break on the spot. Is my guess. Here's disambiguation.
Yeah, and there's a disambiguation page for disambiguation on Wikipedia, though.
But did you get a virus from going there? I feel like that's like how you enter the dark web. Whoa. I mean, this is, if you're going to call your band Disambiguation, it needs to sound like this.
Yeah, totally.
That's so tight. I love it.
Oh, that's so sick.
So scary sounding.
I know. That's like really like means, like the mean Joy Division songs, you know?
And you know what? It is scary to have always restrictions. And I'm including COVID restrictions with that.
They are scary. We should have our freedoms back.
My fucked up fucking system. Talking about the Vax passport. It's so confusing to navigate these damn apps. Self-soothing with always restrictions.
Twisting words for their own gain. A fungus trailing up another garden path. Captain Darkness found other people's craft. It's a messed up, fucked up.
Holy fuck.
That was so beautiful.
It was outrageous.
That was ridiculously beautiful. I think there's some bonus lyrics in there too, but damn, so
Yeah, that
nice.
was incredible.
I love how these soothing covers always sound like they went down to the swamp and then like through a little mini Pacific Northwest music festival. Like it has like Anacortes, Washington energy, and also sounds like it's always outside. Which I guess there are less restrictions out there, but then again, nowadays with
we're always restricted everywhere.
National park passes and whatnot, you got to pay for parking in Banff. I know that's some bullshit. Kevers says, "What did my mother, Discharge, always say about restrictions? Was it never restrictions or always restrictions?" That's the name of the song. Some UK 82 fun to kids. Kevers says, "Here we go."
To fuck the fucking system.
Oh, this rules.
This is so sick.
This has some Billy Burke's energy, I think.
Yeah, I want to see how Kevin is holding the guitar.
Yeah.
To mash the fucking system.
What NFL flag you got up above your bed?
Yeah.
Whoa. Nice falsetto.
Someone really has it all.
Smash to smash the fucking system.
Oh,
Yes.
that was so
Yes.
sick.
That is a big yes from me.
Hell yeah. To prove how punk we really are, you may have noticed a tiny
I
clip.
bleed punk.
A tiny.
I'll do a blood test.
A tiny brief, maybe awkward pause in this cover section. And that's because Sam made us stop recording so that he could watch the Polaris Music Prize be awarded on CBC television.
Yeah. Because the punkest music award in the country. Damn, really put me on blast here, right?
Yeah. I was going to find out for the first time on here who won, but we already talked about it beforehand.
I told you.
I already know.
It was the Chewbacca moment happened off mic, unfortunately.
Wasn't there a Chewbacca moment last week? You said that you kind of wished. I think you're addicted to the hot mic now.
I keep waiting. Someone who died last week.
I don't know, something funny happened. Who cares?
People just are dying, man. People are dying.
We can't get it back. We can't be so jovial and having fun. This is a serious punk podcast about the band Discharge, who I believe I've heard before. This
they actually won the Polaris Music Prize 2021. So
crazy.
Congratulations, Discharge. Your hair metal era beat out Cadence Weapon to win. A Polaris
and they're donating
Prize.
it to the concept of prisons to keep them going, so they have more things to write about in their songs.
Exactly. It's very important, and they're really concerned about prison reform and what it will do to subject matter moving forward.
Catguard is next. That's all caps CAT and then all lowercase GUARD. And this is called Just Listen, There Are Always Restraints. A vibe-based cover for a vibe-based podcast. Just listen. Now, before we do this, and I'm excited for this, and I love our new identity as a vibe-based podcast. It really feels...
We talked about that off mic, too.
We did.
Like,
it feels right. It feels definitely very correct. However, I wonder if it's going to go off the rails if everyone else is also going by vibe. I mean, I think it is maybe good to listen to the song. Maybe not. Maybe I'm being a narc, or maybe I'm already ruining the vibe. I don't know. But I'm a little worried that other people are also going to start vibe cooking.
Vibe basing.
Yeah. But we'll see.
It can be quite dangerous to vibe base.
We're kind of right on a vibe cliff right now. We're about to find out where the vibe is at right now, thanks to Catguard. So we're starting a minute 17 in. Let's go.
So let yourself relax and listen carefully to what is now being said. Just listen. A good overstuffed chair is recommended. Become aware of how easy it is to listen with your eyes and keep means to just listen. Do not think about what is said. Do not analyze what is said. This is because your mind is relieved of the work. Just listen. You cannot make yourself go to sleep. Just listen.
Okay, that does work very well because the track is still in there, and I think that sort of combination of like Baz Luhrmann, Don't Forget to Wear Sunscreen, with Cal and the boys doing vocals. I mean, I think this is basically just a Chumbawamba song at this point, isn't it? Pretty much.
I gotta say, yeah, that was definitely vibe based, but also the vibes were quite based.
It's true. That was correct. Okay, so we're still safe as being strictly a vibe based podcast. Next is Mikey, Danny, BW, and whatever this song is called. It's already very dismissive. I mean, I'm a little worried again about this, but this is uploaded as Discharge song final with both vocals .wave. Here we go. I think I saw Mikey Danny say this one was going to have a propaganda vibe.
Oh, I thought it was Linoleum for a second, but same vibe.
Words for their own game, up another garden path, kept in darkness, fed on
yeah.
Fucked up fucking system.
See, this kind of sounds like Tool in a way, pop punk Tool. There's so much going on.
It's a messed up, fucked up fucking system.
Wow. Did that sound like propaganda? Yeah. You tell me. I've still never heard
that's
them.
That's exactly. I mean, it could have sounded more like Tool. There could have been more, moody stop motion,
that
kind
little
of like BDSM implications, but otherwise, definitely very propaganda.
But when I say Tool, propaganda is the tool of pop punk, I know that they don't have like the claymation fucking and the vineyard.
They do.
Promotion.
That's the thing.
Oh, they do. Okay, well they do.
People don't realize this about propaganda, but yeah, they're a big time.
What I mean is
big time claymation fans.
Their claymation fetish is just like Noam Chomsky or whatever. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they have a claymation fetish for righteousness.
Here's Dis in Terry Gary. That's a funny name with always restrictions.
Twisted words, what do I get? The end of another garden, but Thatcher, you're so full of crap. Smash the fuck the fucking system. They're always there with their restrictions. They're always there to put you down. Anarchy's your solution now.
That's the stuff where you were like, I know that all the crusties in the nation are going to be stoked, right?
I mean, obviously very well done, beautiful playing, very heartfelt singing. It sounded very nice, but also it's just so funny to imagine like sort of a dashboard type of hair straightener guy showing up at the Loud House with an acoustic guitar and trying to pull this off.
Cutting up speed.
Just like everyone,
come to the kitchen. There's free speed in the kitchen.
Everyone keep it down. There's a performance going on.
If you could please be quiet.
Just that vocal delivery too is like so good. Oh, it's full of crap. Is there something about being full of crap in this song? Also, I'm forgetting the lyrics, but that's really funny.
It seems about right.
There's not enough songs that have the word crap in them. Like I guess there's Neil Young's "Piece of Crap." There's the pre Demon Hunter, pre Training for Utopia Christian metalcore band Focal Point, who have a mosh call that is just him yelling crap, which is really funny.
Yeah, looking up songs with the word crap.
Yeah, okay, they say, the end of another gun butt, Thatcher, you're so full of crap. That wasn't in the other lyrics that we were looking at earlier, so that's...
All I've found is a Reddit thread for best songs to take a shit to.
I love Discharge, but all of their lyrics do seem fake to me. Absolutely.
Just the idea that they're sort of interchangeable, like where you're like, well, I don't remember that, but it seems it makes sense,
Just
you know?
Saying Thatcher, you're so full of crap is just really good.
He was full of crap.
I know.
Finally, someone said it.
They could just call it, and she's not full of shit, she's full of crap.
She's full of crap.
20th century, always restrictions. But will this one be full of crap? Only one way to find out. Whoa. Oh my God, that is so cool.
That was fucking awesome. Now, 20th Century is Sam from Split Hairs, right?
It is, yeah. It's one of the guys from Split Hairs. I can't remember who's who, to be honest.
Well, you're because you're not a real friend, but Split Hairs, who of course have been doing original themes for this podcast every week since we started. How many episodes are we at now? Like it is.
Don't know. Not sure.
It's fucking astonishing. Anyway, I finally met, even though Split Hairs are from Toronto, I finally met Nick from Split Hairs this weekend at the Surprise Fucked Up show.
Anyone who wants to hang out with Sam, if you're in Ontario, just let me know. I'll give you his number and his address, and you can hang out with him at any time. He loves it.
It's no problem. But it was great to finally meet, the house band for this podcast in person, or one half of the house band.
So true. Yeah, and I mean, that was incredible. I love that instead of the D beat, it was like a cool glam rock shuffle that reminded me of one specific glam artist a little bit, whose name I will not name, but he was prominently featured in the Todd Phillips Joker soundtrack. But it had a little bit of that vibe to it, but in a good way. I mean, let's repurpose that sort of feeling. That was sick as hell.
That's right. Yeah, this is the beginning of the Todd Phillips soundtrack guy rehabilitation tour.
I mean, I guess. How do we segue from that into the next artist?
Thank you.
How do we segue from that into the next artist being a baby? This is Baby Tyler, everybody. Whoa.
Fucking system.
Is it just me, or did Baby Tyler get hella suave with it this week?
I feel like that was like
a baby wearing a house coat and smoking a bubble pipe, like sort of a cartoon version of Hugh Hefner. Maybe I'm thinking of the baby from Roger Rabbit.
I was going to say, that's like you're just like, it's like a baby who lives in a world that's a mixture of tunes and real people, and Mario is there trying to solve a crime. But truly, Baby Tyler's sort of evolution into, I mean, what's that? I want to say Baby Huey, but that's just the name of a bar on Bloor Street.
That's a cartoon duck, I think. Baby Huey, also.
Who's the Roger Rabbit baby?
I love that Roger Rabbit baby. Man, I want to rewatch Roger Rabbit
Baby
so
Herman,
bad.
Baby Herman.
No, Baby Herman
Baby
is too
Herman-
aggro. Baby Herman has more of Discharge energy, I think. Baby Tyler is
That's
doing his
true,
own
yeah.
thing with it. But I will say this also, there's something about this Discharge song where the chord progression or the notes, it is like everything feels like it's just like a semitone off from where your brain wants it to be. It's kind of like a janky chord progression that sounds weird, and that's why it works so well. And I think Baby Tyler turned it into a pop song while still respecting the jankiness of the chord progression in a way. Because it was like going in some weird places. I don't know.
No, that was sick.
What's next for our baby boy? Only time will tell.
Hopefully not cigars and a real bad attitude.
Next is, I guess, I don't know. This looks like the word chorus misspelled. Krause. Chrous. I think this is an inside joke from Discord, but I couldn't keep track this week. It was too much. It was all moving too fast for my old brain. So this, I think, is maybe a Discord inside joke, but this is Krause with "Salute the fucked up fucking system." Oh, finally. Gotta pay some respect to whoever that was for really living up to the spirit of Discharge. And I think you mentioned Dysphere earlier, and I think the reason bands like that are usually considered pose dog, stadium crust kind of bands is because they made the mistake of going heavy with it. Whereas, as we've just learned, it's the most punk sounding when it's like disgustingly, ear-piercingly thin sounding.
That's true. Treble is punk. Of the frequencies, treble is the punkest. I mean, the frequency bands or whatever.
Right. That was so sick.
That was fucking awesome. I mean, Krause. I do love Krause as a name.
Yeah, I wonder where it came from. I don't know. I mean, something about digging into the Discord for our own pod to find reference to something so we can say it on the pod that is supposed to be stemming from is so counterintuitive that maybe I do want to do it, actually. That sounds kind of cool.
I feel like you just talked yourself into it.
I'll see you later. Always restrictions. We're starting 40 seconds in. Let's go. Now, is that D-Beat? If you're a D-Beat head out there, would you consider that traditional? If you're a D-Beat dad, say, is that traditional D-Beat to you, or?
Well, listen. I mean, I think we've gone a long way to sort of establish my credibility in this space in this episode. So, as the kind of most qualified D-Beat expert in the room right now, I'm going to go ahead and say, yeah, 100%. That invented D-Beat. That is D-Beat now.
I really am starting to love the I'll see you later output. I mean, I always liked it, but now it's like every week I'm expecting more greatness, and it's constantly being delivered. So thank you, Althea. This is called If a Joke Makes No Sense, Can You Even Call It a Joke? The song is called A Nightmare Without Armor Continues. I was going about my business doing fine, but then I picked up the newsletter and it was more bad news. Discharge. My heart had been broken. How are my people, huge weenies, supposed to cover Discharge? It was not meant for me. Luckily, my friend from the 90s was around and helped me with picking up the pieces of my cover. So we're starting 24 seconds in. Here we go.
Break the yolks and make a smiley face. It's a messed up, fucked up fucking system, and they're always there with their restrictions, always there to put you down, 'cause anarchy's the only solution. It's messed up fucking fucked up system.
Amazing.
Yes.
Now, was that
all right? That's it. That's canon now.
Was that Paloma Faith reference?
What?
I think that there's clearly a reference happening here.
Yeah, it was Jewel.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I don't remember the difference. I was
yeah. No, it was Jewel, and now actually sorry because the title is A Nightmare Without Armor Continues. I believe the Jewel's book of poetry was called A Night Without Armor.
What was with like in the 2000s? Like,
I know that
knowing all about Jewel was like a thing. It was like that
was
kind of like a loving Carly Rae Jepsen thing. Was to like kind of pretend that you were joking, but actually just know everything about Jewel.
Well, look, I mean, there was only like two famous people in the 90s, and
it's true.
Jewel had like two major hits. And then she had this like hook that was like she was from Alaska. That's wild. And she lived in
I didn't know that. That's what I'm saying. Everyone knows all this trivia about Jewel. Like, how did I miss Jewel really Trivia Day?
Easy facts.
I didn't know Jewel's from Alaska.
You didn't? What were you doing in the 90s, man?
I don't know. I was probably playing Double Dragon with my brother on NES.
No.
It was sick.
That's crazy.
All right. Up next is BVV with one I'm very excited about. This is Always Restrictions, but the word always is spelled with two V's.
And they're always there with restrictions there to put you down.
Oh, it's such a sick song to reference.
Margaret Thatcher, please. You're so full of crap. You should be put down. Kept in darkness, fed with crap. Anarchy is my solution, yeah. It's a master fucking system. Smashed you fuck the fucking system tonight.
Wow, is this our most CanCon episode ever?
I think so. Well, Alaska's not Canada.
Well, basically.
And they're always there with restrictions. Words for their own game.
Oh, such a sick tune. Can't wait for
it's a big tune.
Can't wait for Alves LP3 to come out. And I don't.
That totally works in that context. That was great.
It really does. And I'm curious, like, did you delete the BVV? Did you just like somehow mix the vocals? Did you mix the Rankin out of it, or did you recreate the track? It sounds like the original track. It sounded like Dad just drumming on there, but I don't know. That was so sick, though.
Little taste of Dad. It's been a minute.
Oh, finally, a reference to COVID. At the laundromat, always restrictions. When I finished the song at the laundromat, they asked me for my vaccine passport. I was happy to show it. I guess restrictions aren't all bad after all. I mean, I love that so much, but again, kind of like the Cro-Magnon permanent underbite D-beat archetype that I picture in my head, they also don't wash their clothes. So that's already another layer of kind of offense to their culture, I think.
I like to just imagine you're working at the laundromat and you're like, I'm just like, I don't know where this person is. I mean, in Ontario, our vaccine passport rollout has been ridiculous, and I think it puts a lot of stress on the people who are just
it's all part of the Great Reset, right? I mean, it
is, right? And so just like to imagine you're someone who's like working at the laundromat and you're like, I fucking don't want to have to put up with asking people for this shit, and you're kind of just like, I figure it's fine, and then someone starts sort of playing guitar and singing about the
Thatcher,
and you're like, I should probably go over and just check, because if anyone's not going to have it, it's this person.
Oh, did they just say full of crap? That triggers me from the underwear that I had to wash earlier.
Yeah, exactly.
Because people who are enforcing vaccines are always triggered libs, is what I'm getting at.
Of course. No, yeah, I understand. And I agree with you.
Whenever the sun goes down, we become an alt-right podcast. It's kind of a new bit.
It's a real, it's spooky.
Disingenuous is the next one. Earnest cover equals E-beat. Always restrictions. Let's go. Yes. Oh. Punk is back.
Fuck the fucking system! Always that, with restrictions, always that, to put you down, and get your solution now! Fuck the fucking system!
Oh, the guitar solo is so sick.
Yeah, this is fucking awesome.
Yes. I love to hear it. And I think I would love to hear one like that. You know, when people say I was going to do the punk vocals or the hardcore vocals, but my roommates or whatever, just go to the laundromat and do it. Like, why does the laundromat ones always have to be so sensitive sounding?
It's true. I mean, I feel like we've heard a few like roommate, covers that are always like, I had to whisper it, and they're like, put some distortion on that. It's totally fine. Totally works.
Yeah, but I'm saying to do it full loud volume at the laundromat. No. Do it.
I'm saying stop making the laundromat a difficult place for others to be.
I mean, there's lots that don't have employees, right? They're just like a coin-operated laundromat.
I don't think I've ever been to a laundromat with an employee.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I think this was a lot. I think a lot of these have been lies this week.
There's a level of deception here.
Up next is the return of the wonderfully named group Broheimen with Always Restrictions. This is Dr. Bugman 31 and Diana Spouse. Let's go.
Twisted words, what do I get at the end of another gun blast? Thatcher, you're so full of crap. It's a messed up, fucked up system.
Oh my God.
Always there with restrictions. Always there.
This is ridiculous.
This is outrageous.
Anarchy's the solution. It's a messed up, fucked up system.
Is it just me or does Dr. Bugman have a little bit of James Taylor in his voice?
Yeah, totally.
That was so beautiful, and probably my favorite time hearing Thatcher, You're So Full of Crap. This week.
Yeah.
That was so good. Wow. Broheimen.
I'm beginning to think Thatcher is really full of crap.
Well, now she's probably full of, worms or
dirt.
Yeah. I was just thinking about how I watched that movie Old this week, and it only took like an hour to become bones. That was kind of cool.
Dude, I can't believe we haven't talked about Old yet.
I know, we don't have time. But you gave it a very high rating on Letterboxd, and I couldn't tell.
Yeah, for sure. Sincere. Are you on Letterboxd?
I started using it in earnest now that I have nowhere else to write about what movies I see. Okay.
Oh, are you writing reviews? This is exciting.
A little bit. Poli-sci Alex, a PSA about discharge in the American healthcare system. Honestly, I always want to be mad at Poli-sci Alex. One of my favorite things to do is be mad at Poli-sci Alex. But again, I didn't play any vaginal discharge or I guess penile discharge either. Here's what Poli-sci Alex says. I had intended to do a longish track that switched tempo and maybe time signatures, but instead I decided to keep it short and simple. Fellas, if your dingle is dripping, you best let the doctor know. So we do get to talk about genital discharge, finally. Let's go.
Oh, it's been too long.
It's a messed up, fucked up fucking system. 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 Discharge from the penis is usually a symptom of an STI or another type of infection or condition. It's important to report these symptoms to your doctor as soon as possible for diagnosis. It's a messed up, fucked up fucking system. 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 It's a messed up, fucked up fucking system.
Kind of more of a power violence vibe. It's like instead of like violent femmes attempting power violence for the first time. With obviously a nice commentary on American healthcare, also full of crap. Fauci, full of crap, I think.
Damn. This is really you're really
when
both sides have it, South Park style.
When the sun comes up, I love Fauci, but it's this.
Right, that's right. We're in sort of sundown, real. This is
the worst idea I've ever had to do this bit. Up next, Diane Spouse, always restrictions. Part of the mixing process for this one involved running the track through Bandcamp and MEE6 9 different times. Shout out to the Monday night listening party. So that's the other thing, if you're not in the Discord, which you get to through the Patreon. I mean, these people make all this shit, and then they listen to us talk about it, and then they listen to the entire thing on Bandcamp on Monday nights. And sometimes people post they'll submit like a 30-minute ambient cover, and all these strangers who are now besties sit around and listen to it together on Discord. It's so cute, and it also has nothing to do with us anymore. It's very terrifying.
We're very removed from the process at this point.
Yeah, it's kind of all we have to do is sit here and go, oh, cool,
sick.
Words for their own gain, led up another garden path, kept in darkness and fed on crap. It's a messed up, fucked up system.
I don't really understand the caption, but I love how fucked up that sounded and all the little pauses and the little blips that had that nice hiss in the background.
Yeah, that was highly blippy.
That was
and then
really
just incredible harms. That was fucking sick.
Yeah, that was so cool. Diane Spouse is onto some shit too. And who's always been on some shit is both B Left and the Silver Bullets, who have teamed up. They've somehow timed it, so this is the last one we play on the episode. This is B Left times the Silver Bullets. Always restrictions on firing Justice Minister for not helping to cover up SNC bribe fraud, JT. So yeah. I think we know what that's about. And you thought Thatcher was full of crap. Well, let me tell you. Every time I think I've got them figured out, they throw me off.
Yeah, there's not
where's Prime Minister?
Consistent trolling.
You're interrupting me, Prime Minister. sick, though.
This is fucking incredible.
And that's always restrictions.